I'm hopping on here to share a video about all of the things we learned about our recent trip with our kids to Cancun, Mexico this past February in 2026. It was the first time we had ever taken our kids and we learned a lot. There's a few things. I'm not a travel expert at all, and we went to Cancun, which might make a difference depending on what side of Mexico you want to go. But this was our experience. We tried to book through travel agents. We got a hold of a travel agent, or we tried to get a hold of a travel agent that we had booked through a previous trip that just Brad and I went. And we sorted through AMA and those kinds of travel agencies, and there all we got was essentially a list of trips to look at and book through. It was kind of a self-serve option. And we never heard back from the travel agency because they were having some technical difficulties. So in the end, we booked our trip through Expedia. Overall, it worked out very well, but I would definitely say that while booking with Expedia, there is a chance that you could run into surprises where things just aren't necessarily completely clear. But overall, it worked out very well for us. This is what we learned. Before going, get prescriptions for everybody for azithromycin, an antibiotic, before leaving. There's a lot of resorts in Cancun or nearby that you cannot drink the tap water. So make sure that you are prepared to always have tap water on hand and even avoid things like salads. We didn't end up needing to do that because the resort we stayed at, which was the Royal Cancun, had a water filtration system, so we could safely drink all of the water out of the taps and eat salads that were rinsed in the water and everything without needing to worry about it. So that was very nice. Another thing, take Pepto-Bismol. Our pharmacist said we also took that and didn't end up needing it, but it's always nice to have that as an assurance if we do get sick, that there's things that we can do to help recover faster. One thing that we found out is that if you're going with kids, particularly kids that are a little bit fussy or don't appreciate foods that are unfamiliar to them, it is not necessarily the best option to go all-inclusive the whole time. In the end, you end up paying for prices as if it was adults going and planning on drinking a lot of alcohol, which is not what we were doing. And our kids prefer familiar foods, and we were not going there to be foodies during this trip or to drink a whole lot. So we realized quickly that getting all-inclusive actually wasn't worth it for us. So in the end, we used 2 all-inclusive days. And that was nice because we could go to breakfast and get drinks, all the drinks we wanted on the 2 days that we were at the resort. And that was handy, it was convenient. But if we had done that the entire week, the 2 days that we went on trips, we wouldn't have been accessing that all-inclusive that you're paying for. And there were definitely times where our kids wanted stuff that they knew they were going to like. And so they wanted to pop popcorn, and they wanted some chips or things that they knew they would like. So we ended up knowing that we would want to go to a grocery store nearby. So that brings us to that learning experience. We ended up going on a city bus right outside of our resort, and they go all along the strip of hotels. Either the bus is red, the red ones do not have air conditioning, but there's windows, so we found it fine, or they're orange and gray. Those are also city buses that cost the same amount, but they have air conditioning if you really need that kind of thing. But as you go on the city bus, search up where you want to go on your Google Maps. So we were told by our resort staff to check out a Super Shadrao, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Selecto. It was a little bit, he said, going to be a little bit less hectic and a little bit more familiar than going to Walmart in Mexico. So we went to the Selecto, got a bunch of groceries that we knew our kids would be familiar with and would like. And that ended up serving us really well throughout the week and actually saved us money, because there's no way that we ate or drank the amount that we would have required to eat and drink if we were paying for all-inclusive for all of those days. Which brings me to another thing. Brad and I, and all of our traveling that we've done, whether it's road camping trips or anything out of country, we have used Airlo, AIRLO eSIMs. They've worked very well. They're reliable. And you can have data then as many gigabytes as you want for a certain amount of time. We recommend the Airlo eSIMs. So, what else did we learn? If you're not getting all-inclusive and you're ever eating at a restaurant, you're going to pay a bill after that. Then they will always give you a tip line, and you can tip while paying with credit card. If you're an all-inclusive, make sure that you're bringing cash along with you. You can go to the bank and get it beforehand, or use an ATM at a resort and get USD that way. But if you are all-inclusive, you still do have to tip the staff. That will help you get the best service and help them to feel appreciated and happy. And so make sure that you're bringing tip money, whether it's pesos or USD, doesn't matter. It seems like wherever you go, whether it's Cancun, Playa del Carmen, or trips like that, they're just as happy with US dollars as pesos and vice versa. When you know you want to go on a trip, for a day trip, it is better to book through the resorts, through the concierge there, because they know the ins and outs of each trip. They know, they can factor in the age of your kids and the length of day, and maybe trips that are worthwhile, rather than getting caught up in a really commercialized trip that looks good on Expedia or something like that, but isn't quite what you would expect. So we have trips that we would highly recommend. Some of these we did this past trip. Some of them we've done on previous trips. This was our third time to Cancun. And so trips that we would highly recommend, Xel-Há. It's incredible for snorkeling, beautiful, relaxing, wonderful. Also Xcaret, that is a great place for shows and adventuring through trees, and it's a whole park as well that was really worth it and enjoyable. This past trip, we did an Equinox tour to Tulum and a cenote and Playa del Carmen all in one day. And it was a really long day and a busy day, but an incredible day. That tour company was amazing, super informative, very organized. We really liked it, and Tulum is a must-see. I've never been to Chichen Itza, and I think it's also very cool, but because the Tulum ruins are right along the ocean, it is so picturesque and beautiful. I personally don't know if Chichen Itza could measure up to that. Brad and I, in a previous trip with just the two of us, also did Rio Secreto Nature Reserve, which is underground cave exploring. And that was amazing. We loved it. Definitely commercialized, but still a really good experience. And not weather dependent, because it's in a cave. It doesn't matter whether it's really windy or not. You're going to be able to go on that day trip, which is really awesome. We would definitely say go to a cenote, at least one. They're all over the place and they're stunning and gorgeous, and definitely worth going to. Snorkeling would also be something that we recommend, like Shelha has incredible snorkeling, but some places that offer snorkeling in Cancun are very weather dependent. So for example, we booked a snorkeling afternoon and we ended up needing to cancel it because the government issued a warning that it was mandatory to cancel because of the weather and it wasn't safe. Because we had booked it on our second last day, we couldn't reschedule it, which was a super big bummer. So if you want to go snorkeling, we recommend book it at the beginning of the week so that if you end up running into bad weather, you have days coming up that you could transfer it to if necessary. We ended up getting a refund, which was okay, but now snorkeling is still on our bucket list, so we'll have to go back again. One excursion we went on was with Extreme Adventures this past time, and we didn't appreciate it. We went quadding and ziplining, and we did do a cenote. The cenote was beautiful and amazing. But overall, we felt like that day trip was really commercialized. They're trying to upsell everything. You can't take pictures while you're quadding or ziplining, so they have a photographer and they want you to pay for the pictures, which we didn't end up doing. But it was chaotic because we had too many kids and they won't let anybody above 8 or below 18 drive. So even our daughter Mila, who has her driver's license, couldn't drive a quad. It was chaotic. It felt rushed. It just wasn't fun. So maybe some people love it, but we didn't love Extreme Adventures. And we wouldn't necessarily recommend that. So essentially, I want to just say a little bit more about the 2 resorts we stayed at. We slept at the Royal Cancun, and it was impeccable. The grounds were incredible. The architecture of the buildings was magnificent. It is the oldest royal resort in the Cancun area. It's about 51 years old, but it looks pristine, and it was stunning. I don't know if I've ever been to a resort that had grounds quite as beautiful as those. The water, however, was also very calm and very shallow, and it didn't quite have the depth of the blue water that a lot of Cancun resorts have, because it was in a protected kind of like bay area. And so in some ways it was really nice that the water was calm because we could just snorkel right there, see some fish, and enjoy the calmness. But when we went to the Royal Sands, which is really handy if you book through a royal resort, you have access to both royal resorts. So we stayed at the Royal Cancun and we could bus on a scheduled time to go to the Royal Sands throughout any day that we wanted. So we went to the Royal Sands, which is way bigger, in some ways more impressive, but not quite as picturesque. And the ocean was stunning. It's just deep blue, like full of waves. So that's where you're gonna get the waves, and we absolutely loved jumping the ocean waves and getting our fill of that while we were at the Royal Sands. Both resorts again have the water filtration system, so you could drink water right out of the taps and not have to worry about that, which was really nice. And the Royal Sands also has like an infinity pool and some hot tubs, and overall I guess maybe offered more. We also went to an evening show at the Royal Sands, which was fun, but it's a much peppier, louder, more busy, slightly more commercialized, higher building resort. So we actually found the sun, it felt like the sun went down way faster there because the hotel was so tall and would block the sun much earlier than at Royal Cancun. So there were pros and cons to both. in the end, we were all really happy to be staying at the Royal Cancun because it was calmer, more peaceful, more picturesque. The architecture was stunning. And yeah, the one really nice thing about the Royal Cancun is every single night it had live music. So we would just sit on the beach and listen to whatever musician was playing for that night, and that was really nice. But other than that, the Royal Cancun really didn't offer a lot for night entertainment. So it might not be the place to go if that's what you're looking for. Neither of the royal resorts that we went to were resorts that foodies would love. I don't think. They just had a couple restaurants each and maybe some buffet areas. The food was good, but it wasn't remarkable. So if you're not going with a family, I would recommend going to an adult-only resort and looking for a resort that has a ton of restaurants. Brad and I went to one a few years ago, and it was the best food we've ever eaten, and we really got our worth out of all-inclusive all week because we ate a lot and we appreciated it and loved it. So if you're not taking kids, go to an adult-only resort. If you are taking kids, these resorts, both royal resorts, were amazing. And remember, you don't necessarily have to go all-inclusive the whole time. So if you don't need the convenience of it, but you want to make your trip cheaper, choose a couple days that you're staying at the resort to be all-inclusive, pay for those days to be all-inclusive, and other than that, go to the grocery store, have that experience, buy some groceries that you know your kids are gonna like and appreciate, and if you have a suite, which we did, as a family of 6, we had to, then you're gonna be well taken care of, and that adds to adventure, and it was really worth it. The Royal Cancun, I should mention, is all suites. It's called the Royal Cancun All Suites Resort, and so all of them had kitchens, which was beautiful and could comfortably fit the 6 of us. So yeah, though that was our experience. It was beautiful. Pack as much sunscreen as you can. In Mexico, sunscreen is about $30 a bottle, and with the 6 of us, we would go through about a bottle a day. But it was magnificent. Talk to the concierge at your hotel. They can help you get trips and hook you up with maybe like lotions and cenote safe bug lotion and sunscreens, because they have to be biodegradable. They can hook you up with stuff like that. And otherwise, enjoy your trip in paradise, because now that we're back in Alberta and it's freezing cold, I'm really missing it. That's what we learned. Let me know if you have questions, and just remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing what we found out on this last trip. Enjoy holidays.